Rahubat Moisar, and welcome to another live reading. Our scroll for today will be Actual Fact, series number 28, entitled Neuroscience of Wu-Nuwaup. Our course of action, we will do some breathing exercises, acknowledge our master teacher, ourselves, and of course, we'll acknowledge each other. Do some breathing exercises and get right into our reading. It's funny how I interchangeably use those words, breathing and reading. All right. So we're going to do some breathing exercises and then get into our reading. So let's start by standing up. All right. Because we're going to acknowledge our anatomy. All right. And tuning ourselves. Physically, how do you feel? Mentally, where are your thoughts? Emotionally, how are you feeling? One common thing that I'm noticing, talking to a lot of people, especially our people, especially young people, is a lot of anxiety. All right. I noticed that young people are getting more and more panic attacks than ever before. All right. So this is going to help to bring yourself back in alignment. All right. Because anxiety means that you're living somewhere in the future. Depression means you're somewhere in the past. We want to bring it into the here and now because the here and now is where the healing is. And we can tap into that through our breath. Our breath, rawuk, all right? That's the soul, all right? Or the breath of life, all right? So we're going to tap into our own soul, all right? And bring ourselves back together, all right? So our stories have been fragmented, and it's all about the all-expanding love, the all-expanding breath, all right? The complete union breath. That means putting yourself back together, which is a form of healing. All right. So let's heal ourselves through our breath and just noting what our anatomy does naturally. All right. So we create the conditions where healing can take place just by being in tune with breathing properly. All right. So you're going to remember your lungs. All right. And your diaphragm, which is a big muscle. When you let your stomach relax, and you take a deep breath in, you start with a deep breath. All right. Your diaphragm descends downward and it acts like a vacuum pulling air into the mid lungs. And as you keep inhaling, it'll go right into your top lungs, and then you'll hold that breath for a moment. And then you let it go. And you feel yourself getting in alignment. You might even feel your spine click, 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 go into alignment. All right. You'll feel your posture improve. You'll feel your thoughts come down into the here. Physiologically, you'll notice what's going on. Where's the tension? You feel that easing out. So we don't have taboos. All right. We face what we're feeling and we work through it. All right. You're feeling sad. You're feeling jealous. Whatever you're feeling. All right. We don't pretend we don't have those feelings, but we work through it. And as we work through it, we say, get out. All right. And then you let the healing in, let the bad feelings out. And then you feel your body, which was probably out of alignment. Maybe you lean this way, maybe you go like this, maybe you slouch. All that is telling of what's going on mentally. All right. So make an account, diagnose yourself. All right. All right. And that's the breath. And you have your intercostal muscles that allows everything to expand this way. So your diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. If you remember those two muscles, that can help you whenever you need a little support. So I'm saying all that is because we're going into our fast. Our winter solstice fast is coming up in 2 days. It's now a good time to start preparing yourself now. Start getting to intentions as you eat more mindfully, as you breathe more mindfully, all right? And as you bring yourself back here. And then we're going to start liquid fasting. And we're going to read our book Neuroscience of Wu-Sabat, which is going to be very, very helpful and supporting for what we're facing. All right. As a people and in our individual lives, all right, we're like holding on to the rope while the waters of life is shaking us up. All right. But these are the tools that we use to hold on. All right. Baba has given us tools to hold on. All right. So we're going to do our nerve revitalizing breath to help stimulate the nervous system because we want our nervous system to have a lot of vitality, a lot of system life because you use your nervous system to do everything from beating your heartbeat to sensing yourself, your thoughts. That's all nerve force. Existing is nerve force. And also sensing the world around you. All right. So when we say men get on my nerves or women get on my nerves, that lets you know that your nervous system has been traumatized. All right. Baba said that sometimes we get too many lovers and things like that. Then we know that our nerve centers have been affected. So now you hear nerve revitalizing breath. All right. This is to heal and rebuild the nervous system and improve your willpower. So let's do this exercise. Deep breath, all right? Same way that we explained, down, out, up, hold the breath. Once your lungs are completely expanded and you're holding your breath, you do these movements with very little nerve force until you get towards your chest and you have a lot of tension and you push against this imaginary force. And you do that 3 to 9 times and then you let the air out. Then you do a cleanser breath. That's taking a deep breath in, holding it again, and then letting the air out a little at a time with force until your lungs are empty. And that's the exercise. All right. So now we're going to go into that exercise, and then we'll do the vocal breath right after. All right. So then whenever you do the exercise after, you take a moment to let your body go through its process because after you do the exercise, that's where you start to feel. And you're just noting what your body is doing, all right, and where you're feeling that. All right, so now we're going to do the vocal breath. So those will be the 3 breaths that Baba says to do every day. There's a lot more than 3 breaths, but that's the 3 to start the healing. Nerve revitalizing breath, vocal breath, and cleansing breath, which the cleansing breath you could also do by itself. All right, but we just did the cleansing breath together with the nerve revitalizing. So we're going to do the vocal breath. To do the vocal breath, you do that same inhale once your lungs, but you do it as slowly as possible and as full as possible. And once your lungs are completely filled, you hold your breath for a moment, then you open your mouth really wide and you let all the air out in one breath, very fast, all right? And then you do the cleansing breath afterwards. And those 3 breaths will change your life. Because if you look at from the time I've been doing those exercises from the beginning to how I sound now and how I carry myself, I would definitely credit those 3 exercises for being a big help in my life. All right. So let's now acknowledge our master teacher, because our master teacher brings us together in this sacred circle of healing. Baba Yanun, in the personage of His Excellency Dr. Malachi Kobina York Okran. Ata pa taruk la ye rawuk em yanun. Ata pa babab la yehu. Open the breath of life to the soul of Yanun. Open the way. Open the way to the breath of life, the soul of Yanun. Open the way towards him. And that sacred symbol is Paut, the all expanding. So now you can feel your very breath expand in the breath of life. That same breath of life that animates life in general. That's the wisdom of life. Tawakkum Baba Yanun. As we acknowledge you, we acknowledge ourselves and each other. Ashuk. Abdul Klau Tapalorat, Wufa Kor, Bi Samus, Pa Paut. Begin all prayers and thinking by using the all expanding. Ashuk. Ashuk. Baror, 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 Nabab Nadar Muqtad, Nauts Muqtad Baded Patah, Nauts Muklas Baded Yanun, Pa Taku, the affirmation. Holy, 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 Master Overseer Almighty, holy, one story, one people, one soul, the whole, the holy, all ether, holy, holy, Master Overseer Almighty. Nauts Mugdad Baded Patah, Nauts Muklas Baded Yanun. Ashuk is the key. But the key doesn't open the door, you do. Why? Because the helping hand is at the end of your own arm. No God except Patah. No Savior except Yanun. So breathe in through your miptah, the breath of life, right there. That's our miptah. And it's linked to our third eye, which is linked to our breath, which is linked to Patah, to open, a thing of opening our breath. Nauts Mugdad Baded Patah, Nauts Muklas Baded Yanun, Patakud. Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk and Pa Pahut. Wu Kalal Ashuk Kawun Jawef Niya. Anuki Kasamun and Pa Pahut. Wu Pa Pahut Kawun Kasamun and Niya. Anuki Wahu Ame Pa Pahut. Wu Pa Pahut Kawun Wahu Ame Niya. Nakuk Kadon Naja Ame Kasam Em Pa Pahut. Wu Khabub Ame Mushkas Nakuk Kado Kawan Kalau Pafef Nakuk Ayo Jawef Pa Pahut. Amen wase amen ayani kawun lake bakor jawef pa pahut. Anuki abed bi nafashni. Pa pahut kawun anuki. Pa pahut kador nakuk kador. Pa pahut amul. Nakuk amul. I affirm that I am inside the divine love of the all expanding, and all divine love is inside me. I succeed. I succeed as part of the all expanding, and I feel as an individual because I can be all that I wish in the all expanding as long as my wish is to stay in the all expanding. The all is I am, and they are me, and I am them. So this is for them from us because we are you all's children. Our overseers, Nataru, natural nature. Accept us, accept us. We are you all's children. You are me, and I am you. Lahehum manehnu antum ate karirhum antum ate karirkum antum ate karidnun antum ate jawefniya antum ate niyahu anukihu yaye ashukreye ashnu jayehnun yaye nataru alfuknun Nahum ater muprarukum yaye nataru alfuknun 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 yaye natarunun anun atum atum amun Taukum Nadaru for not forgetting us and for incarnating our master teacher Baba Yanun, who we accept, and we accept you. Nadaru, we accept our master teacher, and we accept this healing. And we acknowledge that this scroll that we are reading as you all's children that was sent down for us is a guidance and a healing. And this book is the truth and the way. Pasuabu pa taruk. Panen mispa kawun. Pasawabu pa taruk. Ze kawuna na zulala he amtkum. Manemas patu masaa. Ama hadeamu mudama'um. Manemusafuku. Unataru. Arjulayeh nafashukum. Alfukshane kawunkum. Pasawabu pataruk. Pahadeamu padamal. Nahun tawu antkum. Lahe panendamal ushafe. Nahun tawu antkum. Lahetem nasoinum. Nahun tawu antkum. Lahe ashukuma. Antkum ater muslafunu. Nahum ater mukrarukum. Nahun salub nasarkuma. Nahun salub nasarkuma. Ansanun kahena taru. Ansanun muslafunu. Nahum ater muspatu. Anum, Atum, Atum, Amu. Tawakum Nataru, Wumuntaru, Tawatak Baba Yanun, in the personage of His Excellency, Dr. Malachi Kobino York Zeddy Okran. And Tawakum to us, Moisar, as we do our very best to transform into the very best versions of ourselves in our one collective body. And Tawakum to our ancestors, Muslafu, for all the support. Ashuk, and this is our scroll for today. Neuroscience of Wu-Nuwaup. Feel free to unmute at any time to participate. A little bit about our author of the scroll is Pa Nabab Yanun, the master teacher, His Excellency Z. Kobina York Okran. Kobina means born Tuesday, June 26, 1945 AD in Ghana, Africa. Here's Baba and Baba's coordinates as he taps into natural nature to bring us the scroll of eyes. So may all eyes bear witness as we work together. One people, one story. All right. So this scroll, it has an introduction called 9 Reasons to be Nuwaubian and not them. I recommend everybody on your own time to read that. Neuroscience of Wu-Nuwaup, papyrus number 28. The beautiful words, Pa Nefarmul Madatat. The beautiful words. 1. Lahe amtkum karadu shalil pa kalai makwan. For you all children of the omniverse, of the Kathir Makwanat, multiverse, of the Thalu Makwanat, triverses, of the Athu Makwanat, dual verses, of this Wahu Makwan, universe. 2. The universal reality, Nuwaupu Nuwaupians. 3. This is what gives the universe of nature, life, form, breath, cells, atoms, and order. It is in fact universal ether. Fatayal, natural ether. Fatayal, natural ether. 4. Unity with the rules and Dawarat Shalil Wajunanat, cycles of existence. 5. Universal ether is the blood inside the matal, bone. The blood inside the bone is universal ether. 6. The haya, life, is in the blood as the naka, marrow, in the bone that reproduces new fresh blood to feed your life body. 7. It takes 6 to 9 weeks to replenish your damam blood by way of the naka, marrow inside the bone. 8. Zazaz Tatu, women, are like the bone marrow that replenishes the body inside the body, the blood inside the body. Women is like the marrow that replenishes the blood inside the body, which the life is born and it takes 6 to 9 months. 9. Zazaz man is like the damam blood that is grown inside the marrow, bone that is grown inside the raham, womb, and that being the katat's body or matal, bone. All right, there's a diaphragm number 1. All right, and it shows everything, what's going on inside of the bone. So there's many dimensions to your bones, everything from your white blood cells that can be broken down further. And then you have your platelets and your red blood cells. All that's going on inside the marrow. So this is what it's composed of. Pretty much white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. And then those white blood cells, you'll see lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophil, basophil, and neutrophil. Neutrophil. All right. So if you look at the root words, neurophil, that's connecting somehow to your nerves. Neurophil. You have the basophil. All right. And so these are the different dimensions. That's a lot going on inside the bone marrow, giving birth to all these things about you. Your white blood cells deals with your defense. All right. So 10. So they Lamud teach biblically that women are from the rib, matau, bone. All right. So now you have the image of woman coming out of the rib of man. All right. So this is how it would look if women were actually coming out of the rib of man. So supposedly that should be God pulling woman out of man's rib. All right. 11. The Sumerians gave the Chaldeans their Bible, and who gave the Arabs their Quran, said Eve or Hawa or Kawal, also called Ava or Titi. 12. From Ava came Eve or Kawa in Hebrew Strong's number 2332. 13. And Kawa, Hawa means life. 14. And Titi is T. T is rib. And T is seed. So you see from where the Hebrew Bible says Eve was the mother of living in Genesis chapter 3, verses 20. And Adam called his wife's name Eve because she is the mother of all living. She is mother of all. 15. Woman is the matau, bone, and man is the blood inside. 16. The Sumerians called her Tiamat, consort of Adamu, of the blood, Dam, Damam, blood, breath, of life, Adam, life, blood, earthling, earth seed, Dam, blood, red, ruddy. 17. There were many Adam or Edoms, all the same root. All right, so there were many different Adams or different creations, different Edoms. All right. 18. Or the Arabic Dam, which means earth being, ruddy, red, roses, pink, blood. 19. No matter whom, they all have physical damahats, brains. 20. Like the kabad, liver, the damah, brain, can create new neural pathways. All right. So before we go on to that, let's stop there. We're talking about Sumerians. We took a trip all the way from ribs, bone marrow, Sumerian doctrine, Chaldean doctrine. But we see how they perverted talking about the man came from the rib. All right. When it's actually the bone marrow that creates the blood. So it's opposite. But they're still linking her some way to the bones. All right. And which is interesting because even the oldest bones that they're finding on the planet, they are finding to be feminine bones anyway. So how they took bones and they made a story around bones. That's what I'm seeing. All right. 20. So like the kabad liver, the damagh blood can create new neural pathways. 21, the process of neurogenesis is the ability of the brain to grow new neurons. Neuron is electrically excitable cells that processes and transmits information by electrical and chemical signals. All right. Neuro, dealing with nerves. Genesis, dealing with the birth of things. All right. So we can create new pathways through chemical and electrical signals. The damagh brain, 22, the damagh brain is constantly ongoing or undergoing its own stem cell therapy through the process of neurogenesis. All right. So constantly you're going through that. 23, every moment of your life, new neurons are growing from stem cells. 24, human beings indeed have the ability to grow new brain neurons. 25, all organs cannot regenerate. All right, some can, all can't. The brain can. 26, the brain acts like a holographic computer charged battery with many sakafat cells grouped, and your memory is stored in a higher drive called the mental. 27, and you retrieve them or thoughts from the mental reservoir to your personal akal mind, and each kachab thought becomes yours or your own or mine. All right. Ayeni, my own. 28, like a computer, your link is your sarat, etheric cord, or your etheric code. All right, so here code and chord. Right, each one vibrates different, each race. All right, 29, and you can be trapped into or even get a virus called insanity, or they say out of your mind. All right, so now what happens when you get a virus or the wrong code in your computer? It can short circuit your computer in some type of way. Now you get a virus and it's not functioning either to its optimum, or it's not even functioning at all, or some other program took over. So you're out of your mind. And here is what diagram number 2, a neuron. All right, notice the branches on the tree. These are become signals, and it can pick up the tail and more near the axon, the transmitter. All right, so transmitting, it can pick up signals here, it can pick up signals there, give off. But sometimes your neurons could become slow. For some reason, it's not responding or sending signals. So the other one, because information jumps from cell to cell, and that process is called, what is that process called? Synapses. All right, synapses is when information jumps from cell to cell. All right, and a healthy cell is responsive. All right, that's why Baba says to be responsible, not reactive, but responsive. And then you deliver that message, or you pick up that message. The same thing with humans, we do the same thing because we tap in as pretty much a neuron. Let's picture ourselves as neurons, and we could tap into information and get sparked, because this cell, it gets sparked as information jumps from cell to cell. So we see it happening in our bodies. And here's a microscopic picture of neurons. So think of these as tunnels and channels. You can create new tunnels, you can create new channels. This is receiving kadabat, thoughts from outside that can make you do things not you. All right, talking about getting a virus. You get information, a code, and now you start your computer starts to do things that you wouldn't do. All right, same thing yourself. You're doing things that you wouldn't do from these outside receiving. All right. 31. Your brain as a computer can also crash down, and you are in a coma state until rebooted. All right. I knew a couple people in comas before. It's very interesting. 32. Others try to put their chips into your mind all the time, such as their tazam, religious chip, of how they think, talk, act, or even look chips. All right. Look in the world around you. All right. You see people carrying chips of others. They're making beauty standards of others, looking at, and acting and talking like others. All right. Thinking like others, thinking against their own benefit. All right. It's being called programmed. All right. So now we have Negroids with the other than self chip. All right. I think that Queen Latifah, in my opinion, she's one of the most beautiful women. But I don't know what makes her think that that looks good. All right. Now these are beautiful women. For example, but a lot of the time she might think she looks better here. But her hair doesn't grow like that. So either she's Hindu or she's Caucasian or something else. All right. That's not her hair. These are chips of others. All right. Standards of others. All right. Very handsome man over here. He gets a lot of plastic surgery. I watch these shows. She was very beautiful here. Look at all the surgery she got there. That's Toya Jackson. So it's like the chips. We're being programmed to what we find acceptable. All right. 34. The TV cinemas, the plays, the books, the public schools, churches, mosques are all chips in a great matrix trying to erase what you are to remake you into who they want you to be or to live in their sawar image and likeness. All right. I'm so grateful. The in Ghana, they had their elections, and the vice president is a beautiful older woman, and she has all natural features. Her hair is natural braids, and it's very important, for us to see that you can be professional, you can be equipped, you can be competent in your own image. All right. And she was wearing some African print clothing, in the picture that they were circulating. So she's wearing her own image. All right. So 34. By this, they are safe. So they reprogram us to make them think, look, and act like them. All right. The reason why they do that. 34 is by this they are safe from you, and you will contribute to their causes. 35. So they must they must deaden your own inner programs from ladad birth and insert their own programs into you so that you would deny what you are, Afafre Ka, Africans, and begin to function as one of them, as mental slaves under a Hajai spell. 36. They rewrite how you spell out things in your Akal mind, and by such they control your Hayat life until you are dead and you belong to their sources of six ether. All right. So it's more than just what's that word called? Vanity. All right. It's going beneath, because what they're doing, they're putting this spell on us so that we can support them and we can relate to them and we can think like them, look like them, and then ultimately we're supporting their causes. All right. And we make ourselves and hand ourselves over. All right. To become their slaves. 37. Wu-Nuwaup breaks that spelling and allows you to rewrite your own programs to Shafoy heal the virus they infected you with. 38. They use overloads of information on you, force you to darus, study, learn their education and za'amat, religions based on kafish, fear of them. All right, I'm thinking about that sacred circle which life grows out of, that sea crunch. You can actually see Africa kind of has that shape, that spiral of life. And you can't even learn about it without some Caucasian slapping their name on it. So they call it the Fibonacci sequence, which is pretty much a spiral of life, which Fibonacci pretty much just witnessed the spiral of life. And then because he witnessed it, he's going to put his name on it. So he put his ego on it and makes himself as the, what is that word called? The expert or the master of that. And this is what they do to our people. All right. They go study even under us or the natural movements of life. And there's no way that you can be around them without some type of form of racial superiority type of thing. All right. I'm just thinking about that because I think about that Fibonacci sequence a lot. And you see, I'm even calling it Fibonacci sequence rather than the spiral of life. You could name it anything, but you're going to name it after yourself. Kind of shows a very vampiric tendency. All right. So 38. They use overloads of information on you, force you to darus study, learn their education as Ahmad, religions based on khafesh, fear of them. All right. You can't open a math book or a science book without Caucasian men all over. Figure number 5, students of grade school thought through college forced to learn through their education system. All right. Here you see all types of kids. They're pledging allegiance to the flag of America. All right. You see us in the confines of what they want us to learn. Answer the questions the way they want you to answer them. 39. From a qarad child, they teach you the wrong things about life and living. Bara, food, and akal, eating, and laub, praying, and challenges. 40. They always have you versing against others, called games all your life. All right. I'm even thinking about, like, they had all these verses. Oh, what do you think about Monica versus Brandy? I'm talking about those singers. Or what about Michael Jackson versus Prince? Rather than, what if they cooperated? What if they collaborated? That would be hot, you know? So it's like it's all a verse thing. Such and such verse this. And it's always putting one against the other. So they have taught you versing against others called games all your life. 41. And it comes to you as sounds, music, voices, or tones, theirs, or approved by them. Light, TV, cinema. 42. Or each day, as you look around, you see them all over. You see them, and overall, things from God. All right, the Son of God, the Mother of God, the superheroes, the cops, the mulmadu, the teachers, and the muru, nanu, judges. All right, look all around you. The superheroes, they're white. Everything is white. All right. 43. Always them, their image as lights. Images being sent into your brain. Your ears only received it as sound waves. Your ayantwi eyes only received it as light rays that become chemicals in your khatat's body. All right. Now we're going back into chemical. Now we're going into what? Neurons. So they're affecting your nerves. All right. Light waves. Sound waves. All right. That's all touch. And it's touching your nervous system. All right. And that's how you're programming. That's why they call the brain neural pathways. Neural, nerves, neural and nerves. So it's really powerful. 44. So they and their 6 ether forces are programming your damagh brain from ladad, birth, with them as your mulmadu, masters. All right. And I noticed that There's a lot of great information that Baba has put out for so many years. And now sometimes I see Caucasians, they're validating a lot of what Baba has said. And a lot of us feel like it's official now because white people are talking about it. And that's a very subconscious thing. And sometimes even in this group, we share things. Like there was this neuroscientist. I forgot what he was. He does like brain surgery. He's a neurosurgeon. Neurosurgeon. And he was pretty much confirming a lot of what you can rewrite from our scrolls. And it was shared in this group, and I was happy that it was shared in this group because truth is truth. But it's like the sad thing though, is that it seems more official, and I know that, it seems more official towards us, because, a white neuroscientist is saying it, where our teacher who looks like us, sometimes we take for granted. And that has been done by design to us after all these years of programming with them as the, what is it called? The authority figures on everything. All right. So they made themselves the authority. 45. So you grew up in their Tapal world under a Hachai's spell of Tajal, ignorance of what you are as 9 etheric beings, who created them weak and Jawed wicked, and only gave them 6,000 Shamutats years to become civilized, which they could not do. 46. All they did was use the Sakam power to do evil world over. All right. So a lot of the times you give people the rope, and usually they hang themselves. So they've been empowered. And how did they use their power? To subjugate others. All right. To hurt the planet. To do a lot of wickedness world over. All right. So 47. And their Wakut's time ended in 2000. And the end of their 6,000 Shamutats years as rulers, or Malak, which are in fact Milcom. Then we could read 1 Kings chapter 11 verses 5. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And then we could read Melech. So this is where the names pop up, the different ways. Milcom. So Milcom is another way of saying Malak, which means ruler. And then Melech is ruler again. And Molech is ruler. All right. So First Chronicles chapter 8 verses 35. And the sons of Minka were Mathan and Melech, and Tareah and Ahaz. And in Leviticus chapter 18 verses 21, it reads, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire of Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of God. I am the God. And finally you have Molech, and you read in Amos chapter 5 verses 26, which reads, but ye have borne the tabernacle of your Molech, and Chayun your images, the star of your God, which ye have made yourselves. 48. So their wicked, evil 6 ether spirit forces, now known as orb of light, called Korenjes or fairies, Holy Ghost, cloven, lasanats, tongues, like as of Narar, fire also. 49. These are their 6 ether spirit forces that can enter or depart a person or stay inside. All right. So think about it. Korenjis, which are known as orbs of light. And we know that light and sound can affect the nervous system, and the nervous system can affect the DNA. All right. So we have programming tools. All right. So there's 6 ether forces that can enter or depart a person or stay inside. All right. Some of us, we get affected by 6 ether from time to time. Of course, we're in a 6 ether environment. And a lot of us do being focused, the parsa, sometimes it just stays with us. As Bible says, the more dramatic a person is, the more those forces want to stay there. All right. Because you're feeding the forces, the more dramatic you are. So why would they want to leave? 50. So it's done by your willingness to accept their programs, by their holy ring of fire, Wakan Wiccan. All right. The holy ring of fire. And ring around the rosary. Ring around the rosary, which is Rosie, their holy ring of fire. All right. So 51. You have to be cleaned of them. Jawef inside out and Fawej outside in. So programs and fairies has infected us. All right. So it's like having parasites, spiritual parasites. All right. We had to clean that out. Some of them left, but maybe some of them are still in our lives, affecting us as they linger in the way we do things and operate with each other. And you can look around in our tribe and you can see a lot of us, in many ways, still operate with outside chips. All right. And this is explaining why. So 52. So they never, Lamuda, taught that you can rebuild your brain or kabad liver or other sakamat's powers you have as Nagaru Negroid. They never taught you that. All right. So a lot of us feel like we got less than the best hand of cards. A lot of us have low self-esteem, like, oh, I can't do anything because of whatever. But they didn't teach you that you can actually rebuild and repair yourself. You can rebuild your liver. You can rebuild your brain. All right. You can heal your nervous system. All right. And tap back into your powers that you once had that's dormant inside you. Of course, they're not going to teach you that. All right. So 53. They wish you to run into their Zara'at arms. All right. Zara'at arms as your doctor dresses in Laban white. They dress in white. Or a nurse. And he or she will heal you in a Makan place, not even called a Mashai healing place. Yet it is called a place to act hospitable. All right. So it's called a hospital. Hospital deals with hospitality. Hospitality doesn't necessarily mean healing, because I can make you feel very good. Be hospitable to those guests. All right. While you take all their money or whatever the case is. It just means making the person feel good. All right. It doesn't mean making them feel better. I mean, making them better. It makes them feel good, not necessarily making them better. That's what hospitality deals with. So 54, their first Christian order was the Knights of Hospitallers. This was the first Christian order. And you can look that up. All right. And that's somewhat what their dress would have been. That's a reenactment, but that's a Christian order. All right. The Knights of Hospitallers. All right. And what are knights? Knights are warriors. All right. 55. They treat you nice as they prescribe medicines that will kill you in the long run. All right. I think about, like, for anybody who's ever done drugs, all right, who has history in drugs, or they know people, which in some shape or form, we all know somebody or we've been that person. All right. Because of we all know somebody that has overcome. And if you've ever been close to them, you ask them, how did they actually get into drugs? A lot of them would tell you that it was either they were trying to fit in with their friends, or but a most popular story is it was somebody that they really liked. All right. So that person made them feel comfortable, like even DMX. It was somebody he looked up to. So that person made him feel that he was hospitable to DMX because DMX didn't have a father figure and he had a really sad childhood. So he just needed an adult figure that he looked up to, but this guy gave him crack. This is DMX's story. And then DMX struggled with crack for the rest of his life. But that guy first was hospitable. All right. He hosted DMX company and then poisoned him in as well. So when you think about it, how a lot of people get into drugs, it's no different than people looking for answers or whatever, and the person will host you, and in long term they hooking you to something or killing you or taking something from you. All right. So 55, they treat you nice as they prescribe medicines that katul kill you in the long run. 56, so they katul kill the akal mind first and then the body, and then take your ba soul to holy fire, as they call it in their Kabbalah, or the emanation of fluids of invisible nawar, light, narar, light, hasmuni, narar, fire, right? The invisible fire. The akak, ether, fluid, or damach, brain synapses. All right. So Baba's letting you know what they're interested in, what's being drained. They're tapping into that etheric flow. All right. And that's what they're feeding on. So the emanating fluid of the invisible narar fire, the akak ether, the fluid or the brain synapses. So they're draining the brain fluid. All right. That's what's being fed on. But first they have to have you submit your mind to them. You submit your body. And then finally you just doing things that you never would do for that next hit or for whatever it is that you're looking for. You're not even yourself anymore. And they just sucking all your energy out till you're a shell of who you used to be. All right. So 57, they must win your saduk trust in them to take your Siam divine being or Ba soul. You have to offer it up to them. And Za'am, religion, is the first step. Fear of their image and God. Fear is faith, trust. 59, blind akad faith is to believe whatever they say is hakek, real, even without one shred of thabut, proof, tabat, proof, as they do each day. All right. So without any evidence, all right, they've already trained you to see them as the authority on things. So whether it comes from the hospital or your preacher or whoever else, you don't require any type of facts. You've been trained to be preached to. You shake your head, say amen. You don't ask any questions. You take what they give you, and it started all the way in the church. 60. So you have to rebuild your katat body, nakabe, healthy. All right. So you have to rebuild your body back healthy, and your brain to build a psychic self-defense, as you do to Sayun protect your personal computer. All right. So the computer has caught a virus. More than likely, if you've been in the West, you have you have some type of virus. And what can you do? You had to rebuild your body. All right, and your brain defenses. All right. And now you see a person, and this is, for example, they have taken the prescription Vicodin for one issue. But what does Vicodin cause in other issues? It caused problem with his eyes, problems with his face. So notice his body's breaking down. All right. Problems with his ears. That can cause ringing. These are all the side effects. So let me just read. Well, look at that. You have ears. You have face, eyes. All right. So we're going to go through various side effects. All right. So side effects of Vicodin. Vicodin can cause yellowing and to your eyes. It can cause blurred vision. All right. So now it's breaking your eyes down. For your face, lips, and tongue, it can cause dryness and swelling. For your muscles, you can start getting seizures. For your heart, it can cause a slowed heart rate. Your stomach, now it has nausea, vomiting, distress, and pain. Your kidneys is going to cause urine problems and dark urine. Intestines, constipation, lungs, breathing difficulty, swallowing difficulty. Skin, it can cause hives and itching, yellowing. Psychological. All right, so now we talked about the mind. Psychological. Now it can cause anxiousness, dizziness, drowsiness, headaches, mood change. All right. Fainting, confusion, fear, unusual thoughts or behavior, loss of appetite. And then you could see in a lot of those commercials when they have all these type of prescriptions, one of the very popular side effects I hear when you listen to real quick, it can cause thoughts of suicide. The person wasn't suicidal before, but now they start taking this medication, now they're suicidal. All right. So one way they make us live unnatural and then they give us unnatural remedies. All right. So because why are we taking this Vicodin? All right. And it's not to say if you're taking medicine to stop instantly, but it's for you to reevaluate your life and realize how out of tune are you with natural nature. Are you in tune with natural nature or not? All right. And now where are you looking for your solutions if you're not? All right. These are just things to think about. So 61, they use Asmuni. I'm drinking these things to get ready for the fast that's coming up. I did some what's that word called? Castor oil. I drank some of that. And now I'm drinking frankincense. All right. As suggested by my good brother. He said this helps to repair the DNA. And what else am I going to be? And I'm taking chlorella. All right. So I'm going to be doing that. But yeah. So this is me, putting myself back in my natural order. So 61, they use physiology. Okay. 61, they use physiology, the science of the functions of the living systems. This includes how organisms, organ systems, organ cells, and biomolecules carry out the chemical or physical functions that exist in a living system on you. All right. So physiology, that's your physical system. You hear the word physical. So physiology. So that this is affecting your physical body, your living systems, your cells, your organs. So I'm even thinking how they do that shapewear. These women, they're wearing the compression things. And I tried to get one because one of my friends, she's Colombian, and she brought me back one of those things to put on to get that hourglass. And I couldn't breathe properly. Like my diaphragm, I could feel like it couldn't descend It couldn't descend down properly. And I'm just thinking if that's the trend, they're causing compromises that in the long term, even short term, I'm thinking, I didn't wear it, I gave it back to her. In the short term or long term, what effect is this going to have on me? And especially if it's the trend, now you can have a whole population of compromised people. All right. For whatever reason, you created that compromise. All right. So that's a chip that I entertained, but I didn't hold on to because it just, my ancestors came and warned me and said, that don't feel natural. So I gave it back to her. But yes, that chip came in contact with me and I gave the chip back. But that's an example. So 62, to psychic, which is any medicine, to psychic, which is any medicine, a drug or medication, or medicine, the purges, cathartic, laxative. It feels like this is a typo. Hold on. To psychic, which is any medicine, a drug or medicine, or medicine that purges. Maybe it says that purges. Hasmuni. Sometimes, we have people that's putting these scrolls together. It can be sometimes a little mistake every now and then. So medicine that purges, cataracts, or laxative. Liars of lies. They trick you into trusting them as a child. They are physicians, better physics of the Kataya physical world. They use physics to build your physique of what they want you to be, so they can cause you to katul, kill yourself in so many ways. And then they take your soul to feed to their overlords. All right. So think about how they start from when you're a baby. What is more natural than breast milk, for example? But your mom or your dad or whoever, right? That's for overseeing you. They trust that these doctors can duplicate what nature has intended for you. All right. So now you're taking the first elements of life, your building blocks, and that's going to help to shape you physically to either the way nature wants you or to the way whoever wants you to be. All right. Whether that's a natural shape or unnatural shape. All right. So now you take this formula and it builds you already in that way. All right. Then you take this school program and it builds you in this way. Then it takes you, okay, what you're supposed to eat according to who? All right. How many times a day? All right. And you've already been programmed since you were younger to not know why you do things. You just do it because that's just the standard of what you've been doing. All right. 63. So now with 6,000 years ended, you see them world over weakening. You see Fatar nature working on them by takasats, whether their wealth, power, health, all fading since the year 2000 AD. Pa-kakasu, the Caucasoids world over, are sakuts falling, and those Salalu races that Saduk trust them will come down with them. Between 2000 AD and this hereafter, you will see Fatar nature at work. All right. So the very images of people is falling. All right. People used to look up to. You realize that, there's a lot more that's being exposed about them. All right. People's health. All right. You'll see the health is crumbling. All right. Those of us, the Caucasoid, and those of us who live in their image are gonna fall with them. All right. 64. Yet you Nagaru Negroids, Afafre Ka, Africans world over must rebuild your brain powers and reprogram your own mind from your own mental reservoir, your own Ka'ahu over soul, your own over souls. All right. So it's healing time. It's healing time. All right. 64 lets us know, yes, we were infected. All right. But what must we do? We must heal. This is healing time. While all others are dying off, we're healing. All right. Because we're going to reactivate our natural protections. Because nature is working to remove all that which is unnatural. All right. So we have to put ourselves back into our own mental reservoir where the natural protections can be reactivated. All right. So 64. It started with Rakuk, knowing the Hakakat's facts about what and who you are and what you can and are capable of doing. 66. Just as you are able to keloid, your kasha skin, unlike others, will extend itself or regenerate itself. All right. So keloiding is an example of regeneration because that's the cells that grow back. All right. 67. There are many things unique about the Afafre Ka'u Salau African race. All right. So there's a lot of things unique about us physically. So that tells you that there's a lot of things about us also mentally. 68. So it is with your brain, regrowth. 67. Your damag brain is not limited to the neurons in it that the neurons it is ladura born with, or even the neurons that fill out after the explosion of brain development in takrad, childhood. All right. So you're not limited to the neurons that you were born with. And you are also not you're not limited to the neuron explosions. All right. Baba calls it genetic explosions because you get different genetic explosions at different times. Puberty is considered a genetic explosion. And you know that's a nerve. Now you know it has to do with your nerve expansion. All right. But you're not limited to that. Why? Because you could be a grown man or woman, you're reading this, you get a genetic explosion. All right, that's a new, and if you feed that neural pathway, it can grow. All right. So 70, new neurons are born well into the 9th decade of life, well into your 90. All right. 71, within your brain, there, Wajud, exists a population of neural stem cells that are continually replenished and differentiate into brain neurons. All right, so neural stem cells. All right, so we have neural stem cells. And the beautiful thing about stem cells, they're not specialized yet. And you have a abundance of neural stem cells in your brain. All right. You have a lot of stem cells in various parts of your body. A little side note that there's stem cells even in the foreskin of a man's penis. And that's the bad thing that they have us following traditions that are not for us, because a lot of us are snipping nature's natural creation, for example, because everybody else has this covenant, all right, to cut off the foreskin called circumcision. But nature put that there for a reason. There's a lot of healing benefits as nature built you. But, we have outside chips and things we accept as norm. All right. But that's a little side tip. So 71. Within your brain, there, Wajud, exists a population of neural stem cells that are continually replenished and differentiate into brain neurons. 72. The power of Tagror, transformation. The power of transformation is hidden in our stem cells. 73. It's a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which plays a key role in creating new neurons. It also protects existing neurons, which encourages synapse formation. That is connecting one neuron to another. That is needed for fakur, thinking, and rakur, learning. All right. So, for example, we'll pretend that these are two neurons. That little spark between them is called synapse. So that's one connection to the other. But notice they don't touch, they touch through this energy. However, sometimes neurons can be not responsive. So now you can't have a clear thought. You're confused. It is a block. a blockage, or this one is not responding. All right. And certain drugs can actually cause certain things. Like, for example, let's say you have pain, you take a painkiller. That painkiller doesn't actually make the pain go away. What it does is it causes its blockages so that these nerves can't communicate, and then you won't feel your headache, for example. All right. But any type of information that's transferred from one cell to another, that's called a synapse. All right. So 70, and there you go, synapse in the brain. The brain is firing. That's why, for example, that's how when you go in for a CAT scan, they call it a brain scan, they can see what part of your brain is active. So if they like pinch your arm or something like that, they'll see what sparks up, because actually these are sparks. So they can see what part of your brain is used for what thing. And that's your brain having many sparks throughout the day. So reading, for example, you get wow, I just got a genetic, that blew my mind. I got a genetic explosion. You can actually create a new neural pathway through these lights or synapses. All right. Create new cells. All right. So Wu-Nuwaupians, this is how to harness your brain neuroplasticity, ability of the brain to change structurally and functionally, to enhance neural pathways, plasticity. All right. So you could just hear that word, elasticity, being able to change. So neuroplasticity, that's your brain able to re-function itself. All right. Now you could think differently, and you can actually change structurally how that brain looks. So, for example, if you keep studying, let's say you keep studying something, or you start to take on a new hobby, or you start taking music, or whatever it is, or you learn to dance, different things like that. If they look at your brain, it is possible that your brain could look different, because you might have developed a different part of your brain. All right. And you can do that for decades and decades. 77. And what gives this Wu-Nuwaup universe of natural nature, life force, form, and growth? All right. 78. Fatarul Akak, natural ether, in unity with the rules and cycles of nature. Our own Tasu Akak, nine ether nature, as Nagaru Negroids. All right. So it has to be in harmony with natural nature. Why? Why does it have to be in harmony with natural nature? Because the rules of natural nature. For example, let's say my head hurts. I take this pill, and it says, okay, I'm going to stop firing these neurons so that I don't have to feel this pain. And now I deadened that connection. So now my head doesn't hurt. That's kind of like a six ether response, because that is going to cause an offset of something else. So as I fix this problem, I'm causing 20 other problems. But when you are in tune with natural nature, nature will run its natural process to heal more completely. And it still takes an account, because non-ether takes an account of the whole picture. All right. So you'll heal in accordance to the rules of natural nature. All right. So that means that's a complete healing. So 78. Fatarul Akak, natural ethers, in unity with the rules and cycles of nature. Our own Tasu Akak, nine ether, nature as Nagaru Negroids. 78. Fatarul Akak, natural nature, is the energy that gives lights and life, sound and movement to this universe and the beings, persons, and things herein. 80. As brain synapses magnetically and magically come together and unite to process into Akak ether, neurogenesis, growing brain cells, creating new neural pathways. All right. So magnetically, magically. All right. And whenever I hear magic in our culture, I don't think of something like, oh, spooky. I think of a process. Because when you're going through a process, everybody's not sitting there with your process. They just see the effects afterwards. All right. So it's like they don't see the whole production underneath. They just see the image of what's given. So if I bake a cake and I don't invite you into my kitchen to help, I just go in the kitchen, I do all the processing, I come up with the cake. You get to enjoy the benefits of that cake. All right. But there was a whole process, and that's called the magic. All right. Because everybody doesn't see your magic. Everybody's not there for your process. And now we're in the realm of animism, because animism deals with the forces that animate our physical world. All right. So that's animism. So that's magic. So the brain synapses magnetically and magically come together and unite to process into Akak ether, neurogenesis, growing brain cells, creating new neural pathways. 81. And the ether mind and the Kaios reason start creating, growing, and developing the physical body of the organism that the brain needs to have for support and survival. So what Baba just did for us very simply, he has just explained the etheric world and the physical world and how that goes hand in hand. All right. So the physical world is being able to put together in a way that these firings can happen. So it's healthy. Now the etheric world can run through it. So now you can reason. You can have nine-mind reason. Why? Because your body is in perfect health. All right. For example. And you start using your body as it's intended, now ether can run through it. All right. So your reasonability. Because, for example, if I have a brain like this one, and this part of my, like, I'm just not using my brain as intended, I'm not going to have clear thoughts because there's going to be a disconnect. All right. So I'm cut off or I'm blocked for some reason. All right. And there goes the DNA. All right. And here we go, the gallbladder, the liver. So being healthy, now you see, is a spiritual thing. You can't just be sitting there and eat McDonald's and things like that and think you're going to be to your full potential. And if you're not at your full potential, that's not nine ether. All right. So let's see. 82. After the organism is created, let's go back. 81. And the ether mind and the Kaios reason start creating, growing after developing the physical body. All right. So now we see the relationship of the physical and the etheric body. So the reasoning running through the physical person, it comes after the developing of the physical body of the organism that the brain needs for survival and support. All right. So your brain needs that. You can start reasoning after a certain point. So 82. After the organism is created and born after 6 or 9 months. All right, so now that baby who's been growing in the womb of its mother, all right, it starts to be able to develop reason after enough of its systems are put together physically. All right. So now that etheric blood can be supported. 83. The brain continues to generate akak damam, ether blood, by way of its aabab, hearts, and ra'ats, lungs, and is kept clean by the kabad liver and the kalai kidneys. Here goes you the liver, you have the right lobe and the left lobe. All right, your liver is so important because your liver is helping to detox the rest of your organs so your other organs can function as the way they need to. All right. So that's why Baba said that we're not a corporation, because corporation deals with death. corp, meaning body. But he said, no, we are an organization. And organization deals with organs and it deals with everything being in its place. So when things are organized in its right place and time, all right, organization, all right, organs. So the brain continues to generate akak damam, blood ether, by way its abab, hearts, and rat, lungs. So our heart and our lungs, we do these breathing exercises, all right, and it is kept clean by the liver, kidneys. Everything is working together, all right. That's the nine ether mind. Nine ether works together. So as we're reading about this, where's the superiority being shown here? There's none. Because the heart is being supported by the lungs, and the lungs being supported by the liver and kidney, and everything's working together. All right. Everything has its place and time to the full body, the collective. All right. There's no space for what's that word called? Competing. All right. So, because that's cancer. When the cell starts to compete against its own body, that's considered cancer. That's how cancer behaves. 84. Brain produces a cock ether, which is the kind of life called mind, feeding off of the mental for reason. All right, for reasoning. So your brain starts to develop. That's why if you can have a physical injury or something happens to the baby while it's in the womb, it will have a hard time reasoning, and it can only grow to like a 2-year-old. All right, because it can't feed off of the mental reservoir of reasoning. So 85, natural ether is of the Ba soul, in our case, and the Ka spirit, in the Kakasu Caucasoid case. All right. So our ether, nine ether, is by soul. Caucasian ether is based on spirit. All right. 86, we don't have the same Haya life systems. All right. Our bodies don't even act the same. All right. Now, because of mixing, some of us are somewhere in that spectrum, somewhere in the middle. But know what feature you got from whom. So the African, this is how the African body responds. This is how the Caucasian body responds. Then you have some grays in the middle. Bob says he calls us grays because most life is happening in the gray. But that's what we are working to heal ourselves from. All right. So 87. We even Rauk breathe opposite. When they breathe in, when we breathe in, they are breathing out. And our bodies do not work the same in digesting foods or liquids. All right. So how they consume, what they consume, how their body processes food is going to be different. All right. The way that their hair is composed is going to be different. All right. The way their skin interacts with the environment is going to be different because they're synthesizing information differently than we are. All right. 88. So by fatah nature, we are grown on different parts of the Kawak planet, where different things grow to akul eat. 89. You, if outside of Afafreika, Africa, or sun-drenched lands, are eating things not prepared by nature for your bodies. All right, so think about it. The things that you are supposed to eat are more than likely supposed to be touched by sun before it touches your body. All right. But we're eating things from farms, indoor sheds, caves, and things like that. Laboratories, you know, we're not going to digest it the same way. 90. This is why you are always sick, always diseased, You are living by what their blood needs and not what your blood needs. 91. This actions of intakes affects your blood and brain output. 92. Yes, they know this fact and feed you blood meat, which they as Homo canines need. All right, so they feed you their needs. I did know one lady. She was vegetarian. She was vegan, actually. She was vegan. And she was very she was married to someone in my family. She had green eyes. And she was very neutrinoid. But I guess she had a lot of Caucasian blood, and whatever specific was in her genetics, I don't know. But anyway, she tried for so long to have a baby, and she kept having miscarriages, and she just wouldn't get pregnant. So she went to a special doctor because they couldn't find anything wrong with her. She went to a special doctor, a holistic type of person. And this holistic type of person told her that she has a special type of setup. From what they see, she should be eating meat, not just any kind of meat. She should be eating red meat, blood meat. And then she started doing that, and she ended up having a baby. That was the first time. And the person explained to her by her genetic that they could see that she is not meant genetically to be vegetarian. And the funny thing is that person who was talking to her was a vegetarian himself. So when we look at what's going on, and I don't know, I'm not an expert in that type of way. Um, I just take note of what my body needs. That she, by nature, you know, she needed that blood, whatever it was. So, but the reality is that people are feeding you according to who they are, and everybody is not the same by race. All right. So 93. By the rules and cycles of nature, natural ether performs spontaneously, and you as Mundaru, that's overseers, you as Mundaru, were to be healthy. You have a responsibility to respond, the ability to grow spontaneously and indeed efficaciously with desired results, or spawn and indeed efficiently, acting directly to produce an effect. All right. So, what is the responsibility if you're going to call yourself a Sabian? All right. And Sabians, what are we guided by? We guided by nine ether. So in 93, Bob is saying that's your responsibility to be healthy. If you are to call yourself a Mundaru, an overseer. All right. So you as overseers have a responsibility to be healthy. And that's why certain positions, when you read our Constitution and things like that, certain positions you can lose due to bad health. If you're not in the right physical health, you're no longer fit for that position. For example, we are to be healthy. You have a responsibility to respond. Respond meaning to regrow. That's how he wrote it. He wrote it as a spawn. All right. And to respond is this: you're responding, so your cells are responsive to the outside world stimuli and to itself. All right. So whatever blockages that my hands are numb and I can't feel, I had to work that through. I can't move my arm, I can't process this thought. Somebody's talking to me and it's going right over my head. I don't have good intuition. All right. My psychometry is off. All these things were natural senses to us until we lost our sense and sensibilities. All right. And they call it the higher senses, which is pretty much having a certain care. Because in order for you to pick up those signals from nature, you have to care. Like, for example, I could tell all about the person who owned this. I could tell, I'm using as an example. That's called when you could pick something up and then you could know all about the person who had it. Okay, what was going on with this person? Oh, okay, they work a very busy life. This is going on because you care, and nature starts to open up and communicate with you. I have a certain intuition, but a lot of us, we have these walls that we create to protect ourselves, and we lose our sense of sensibilities. So now we got to go back into our natural form. All right. So let's repeat that of what our responsibility is. 93. By the rules and cycles of nature, natural ether performs spontaneously. All right. Spontaneous doesn't mean random, not the way Bobby uses the word. It means automatic, automatically. So, for example, if this happens and you're healthy, automatically that should be the response. That's an automatic thing. So you can be sparked. All right. If you're not sparked and then you're not being responsive, or it's not automatic. So by the rules and cycles of our nature, natural ether performs spontaneously, and you have as you and you as mundaru overseers were to be healthy. You have a responsibility to respond, the ability to grow spontaneously, all right, automatically, because the healing energies are here. Are you responding to them? Are you getting healthier? So you are to grow spontaneously and indeed efficaciously. Efficacious means that thoroughly, all right? It's not just, oh, my head stopped hurting, but I now have blurry vision. That's not efficacious healing. Efficacious healing is functional, all right? So with the desired results, or spawn, and indeed efficaciously, acting directly to produce an effect. All right, these books were written to cause an effect. Baba wrote these books as an effect to touch the DNA, the hearts, minds of the people. And they thought that because the thing is that Baba said he needed to touch certain people by a certain time. They were so convinced that it meant physical. Now we see it's not just physical. Reading the right scrolls or hearing the right stimuli, this was meant to touch the right DNA at the right time so that the proper DNA can respond and be responsive and then be lit. So now you know that you are. If Baba, if you were who you were looking for example, this is a form of being touched. All right. So 94, you refused, and for that have been under them for 6,000 years. So we refused to respond to act, 93. So now we're 94. Now Baba's saying we refuse the healing, right? So you refused, and for that have been under them for 6,000 years, lost of what you really are, supreme beings. 95, in a state of hypnotic amnesia for mixing your blood seed with foreign muzyad mutatsalu, extraterrestrial offspring. 96, and have been under this spell for 6,000 years, and it's time to regrow, spawn again, in order to return to Sahats and Sabatats and not become bara, food for their Gadadu gods. All right. So how did this all happen to us? We stopped responding to nature, mainly because of why? We started to mix with these extraterrestrial entities that has infected our messages. All right. So we have two messages that's either going to take us back to Sabatats or Sa'ats, or it's going to take us to become food. All right. Because these are the two entities, for the most part, that we're contending against. All right. We're either contending with the forces of nature or we're contending with the forces of unnatural nature, and both has made its way into the blood seed. 97. That means natural ether works automatically and is able to do what it must be done and can do it with tatmum, perfection. 98. So you're responsible to respond new life unadulterated. 99. Pa Nasor Akak, the helping ether, the sun rays, sunshine, the physical life and light and physical world. 100. Pa Ya Rayes Akak, the head ether, is reason and the mental and spiritual light of life of this physical world. All right. So we have the helping hand, which is the sun rays giving us physical support. So now you know that can help your physical body. All right. That's the helping hand. Then you have the head ether that helps you to reason things out. All right. Have clearer thinking, clearer thoughts for your mental and spiritual light of this physical world. All right. So that's the head ether. 101. You Nagaru Negroids by nature, as grown on the best, richest part of the planet, Afafre Ka, Africa, the sun-drenched part, for you to become helper ether and head ether for all others. You are gods of Kawak, Taha, planet Earth, Makau, Etherians. Look at this relationship between Orion and Sirius. All right. Those are the star systems. And the star systems that feed our star system. All right. And now we have a different, more direct alignment. So now we have a whole new consciousness coming down, communication from natural ether the sun, to help to restore our unadulterated genetics, to reawaken them. All right. And there's this person, for example, that's receiving it. All right. So he's accepting it. He's accepting his healing. All right. And what's he transforming to? He's transforming back into his divine state. A lot of us don't have time for that, though. All right. And I'm not in the sun-drenched part of the world at this moment. Sometimes I am, all right, because I travel, but sometimes, a lot of times I'm not. And it's going to be dark already, all right, in a couple hours. So I'm not in the best place, but there is a lot of supporting things to help heal us and activate us. 102. Children of the sun, Reye. 103. The sun as a cycle or disk, or the circle of natural ether. 104. However, natural ether is all ether produced by natural process from 1 ether to 9 ether. All right. So we are all ether. Why? Because we're natural. We grew naturally in a natural process, our magical growth. All right. From Hu, Hika, Hu, Sia, and Hika. From the creative mind. Our clear thoughts, now we see that's that neurons, Sia. Everything is restored. And Hika, supernatural strength, our magic to see it through. That's the follow through, that process. So we went through the natural process of all ether. We have no hang-ups about ourselves, all right, as we've grown naturally. So 104, however, natural ether is all ether produced by natural process from 1 ether to 9 ether. All right. So you work out the problems. That's the thing. Let's say you have some type of whatever issue that it is, and you worked it out naturally, you do it more completely. All right. A lot of times, if you just treat symptoms, it's an incomplete process. So we want to heal on all levels of ether. 105. The universal ether is all ether produced by the universal orb, spirit lights of fire. So we learned about their orbs, the Caucasians, they have orbs. Now we learn about a universal orb. All right, there's universal orb, and then we have these orbs, these random orbs. So we have the orb of soul. That's universal. That's all ether. Then we have the orb of spirit. My personality, how I like things, the mood I'm in today, the mood I'm not in today. All right, because all that changes. All right. 106. And these are sparks of brain synapses. All right. So now you're here, you want the universal orb. You don't want just a random orb. You want the universal orb. So you can be sparked by that original thought that goes all the way back. So now everything reasons out about you because you've hold on to that rope through space and time, through 76 trillion years of information, all the way back to that original bang, that original thought. All right, that gave birth to many thoughts, but they all go back to that original thought. All right. So these are the sparks of brain synapses. All right. So are you sparked by 6 ether or are you sparked by 9 ether? 107. Sarar, spark. Sarar, spark. Pa sarar, spark. All right. And that's a symbol. So now if you ever see the hieroglyphics, you go to the museum and such, Baba tells you that. That means spark. 108. This is likewise by natural process of spawning. So sparking is spawning. So now you know when you say, oh, wow, I just had a genetic explosion. You realize that you actually really did have a real spark. Now it's up to you to take that spark and apply it so you can grow, because you can have a genetic explosion and it just goes out. It doesn't become nothing. But it's up to us to keep applying it so that we can take that spark and keep growing. All right. So 109, natural ether is universal energy, meaning it exists everywhere, either in potential or active form. That is potential or spirit or active or physical body. So now you see natural ether is your potential, and it is also what you already manifested. All right. So what you physically manifested, what you didn't manifest yet. Because you can still have the energy to move your arm, but you just didn't. So what you do with that spiritual potency before it manifests as something, I can put that energy into movement. Now you can see it. All right. But you know that both things are still there. The potential or the active form. They're both there. 110. It is the blood and the mind of the universal energy that pervades, be present and apparent throughout all. 111. Natural ether is the physical light and life, spark of life, electro, biochemistry, and biology. All right, electro, chemistry, and biology. Because we know that the nervous system is actually electricity, and it is also biology. So our nervous system, that's what you get. That's why our nervous system is the seat of our spiritual, physical, mental body. Natural ether is the physical life and lights sparked by life, the electro-bio, chemistry and biology. 112. Repetition is memory. Retrieve both genetically and mentally what you are, not who you became after birth. It's all in your brain and can be seen and noted. All right. We have a whole memory chart here that Baba made for us. It's called the memory chart. And then you can see you have spirit, body, soul, ether. All right. So you can have active and potential. You have different states from 1 all the way to 9. And we are all the way from 1 ether all the way to 9 ether. And all the steps in between. And that's why Baba says and you can see also he mentions REM, rapid eye movement, around 7. And I see, well, you need at least 7 ether to reincarnate, for example. Because now you're going into deeper meditation REM. Like when you're sleeping, your eyes stop moving. That means that you're in a deeper sleep. And you can go to other realms. Now you're into a dream state. All right. And now you're tapping into memories. But you see how it's linked even still to your body. All right. And you go in deep sleep, coma sleep, death and dying, dead. So there's many dimensions to this chart. If you have time to look at it and also look at the different ethers, what it does at different stages and such. 113. So the human brain, with all its problem-solving problems and creative ability, is powerful enough to Fahim, overstand, and Fahim, understand itself. All right. So the brain is so powerful that it can overstand and even understand itself. 114. Nothing in the known multiverse, with the exception of the omniverse itself, is more complex. The brain contains 999 billion nerve cells or neurons, each of whom can communicate with thousands of other brain cells. All right. So you have your brain, which is one of the most complex things in our universe outside of the multiverse, right? There's nothing more complicated because there's 99 billion nerve cells, and even the nerve the nerve cell in itself is amazing when I really look at it. And they all are communicating with each other. All right. 115, because humanoids are primarily visual creatures, the best way to make sense of the brain is to see it clearly. 116, using a strand that marks individual neurons. 117, by peering through a microscope at stain cells and branch-like projections which they are connected to other neurons. All right. So they branch. You have the neuron body, and then it will branch off with stems. All right. That connect to other neurons. And then they just do that. And now you know also that you still have stem cells amongst them that are still creating new pathways all the time. All right. So this isn't a piece of art. This is actually someone's brain that they have now, machinery that can measure what's being said. All right, so this is dyed and seen through special type of machinery, relationships. And there goes the brain. You see how it's stemming out. These are your receptors. The same way that it can interact with each other, it can interact with outside waves. So now that outside wave affected this one in this process of a thought. Now you're tapping into some type of memory. All right. So anyone who's running around saying, I'm a true psychic, follow me, things like that, rather than say, heal yourself so you can tap in. Because now you see how you're put together and where Baba's aim is to take you back so you can be responsive, because 9 ether is naturally responsive. But the problem is that we have been blocked. So Baba is doing his best to remove the blockages so we can respond once again. All right. To take our natural places and not be at the mercy of a so-called successor. All right. So 118. Let me go back. So our brain is very complicated. It has, okay, where we go. 115, because humanoids are primarily visual creatures, the best way to make sense is to see it clearly. All right. 116, using stain that marks individual neurons. 117, by peering through a microscope at the stain cells and like the branch-like projections with which they are connected to other neurons. It becomes clear everything was simple and unconfused. All right. So now that you can visualize it, now you're not so confused because it's a network of all these single. You have all these single, there goes 1, 2, 3, there goes 4, 5. And you see that network. See that network? So that connects to that. That over here is connected somewhere up here. So you have these different connections, right? It seems so complicated, but now Baba said, okay, now you can see it. It should be simplified. Now you're not confused. All right. Now, but what happens when this one is floating around and it can't make that connection because something's wrong with this one? Trauma or whatever. All right. Now you see. All right. So 119. Neuroscience now know and see these hakakats, facts. All right. So Baba's saying he talked about these facts a long time ago, the mind scroll and other things. But he said eventually the Western world, like he said in the breath book, will catch up to our ancient sciences, things that we already knew. All right. Um, so this is just to show you, all right. Like they get it from us, we didn't get it from them. However, their sciences is confirming that we were telling the truth. So neuroscience now know and see these hakakats, facts, 120, for determining the specific tasks in which different brain regions specialize. All right. So you can have a brain and it specializes in a certain thing. All right. So if you hurt that part of your brain, let's say your empathy part of your brain, now you can be more self-centered because that part of your brain is affected. However, the brain is so smart that a lot of times it can redevelop. Another part of your brain could take over those functions. But typically, you'll have certain functions in different parts of your brain because they have regions with specializers. All right. That's why people who they get a brain, they lose their brain, half of the brain, they get taken out and they just have one half. A lot of the times, some of them can regain those functions because they grow those synapses, other parts of their brain. All right. So 121. Example, some neurons devoted to processing sight that detect only Yafet Kakak Hatatats, horizontal lines, while others sense danger or produce speech. All right. So you have different neurons that do different things. So Bob is explaining that some neurons can help you see light. Some neurons just see lines that go horizontal. Some lines make you process danger. All right. So they all doing their own thing. Same thing. You have cells all over your body. Some of my cells are heart cells that's helping me beat my heart, and other cells are cells for making me see. You know, they're specialized in different ways. All right. So your brain cells, now you know your neurons and such. They can also have specialties too. 122. Under the right conditions, patterns emerge from the brain monumental complexities. 123. One is an application of magnetic resonance imaging or diffusion tensor MRI, which tracks the flow of water within cells, revealing neural tracks and make long distance connections within the brain. They can see and separate by Lewonat's colors. 124. The form that a neuron takes is determined by its function. All right. So the form that a neuron takes is determined by the function. So now we know neurons could change their form depending on the way they're functioning. As is the way a Kawe group of neurons is organized into bright oblong clusters sensitive to touch. Each process neural signals from different points of touch. All right. So here's different types of neurons. These are all neurons, but it depends on what they're doing, how they will look. All right. And then also the way they'll cluster together may be different. All right. So how they group together, what they're doing, where they, how they sensing. All right. And whenever you have that group, it would be sensitive to touch in a different kind of way. Some will be sensitive to heat. Some are sensitive to pressure, for example. So there's this one. This is an actual MRI, neural track of water. All right. So it's tracking the water system so it can see how it's branching out. because it might look like a jumble here, but you can see which directions uh, these neurons are going. All right, so it's kind of an out. 125 maps delineating how brain regions not adjacent to one another are connected by long tracts of cellular projections called axons. By using genes from fluorescent jellyfish and inserting it into the DNA of worms or mice makes it clear to see illuminated sensitive light shining on neurons containing the gene and can change their behavior. All right, so they took the gene from the jellyfish and they put the gene on the DNA of a worm or a mice. All right, and now the worm or mice, of course, is going to have different needs than a jellyfish. So now those neurons are going to change their behavior. So it shows that the neurons itself can change their behavior. 126. This allows for manipulation of the activities of individual sakafat cells and cell types by using beams of light. So you can affect what the cells are doing by what? Using beams of light. Some people call it light therapy because you can actually take the light, lasers and such, and you can pinpoint specific parts of the DNA. All right, through what? Through light. 127, and we know that as well because if somebody turns the light on, that helps us in our eye. It touches our eyes, it touches our skin. It helps us to produce serotonin. All right, that's why it's not really best to wear shades, because when you're wearing shades and it's sunny, you produce more melatonin. All right, melatonin helps you to relax so that you can go into your dream and meditative state. Or serotonin, it makes you more active. And these are hormones, actual hormones that your body produces. And it's directly impacted by light, right? And that's why people with darker eyes tend to have a better regulation of those hormones because they can respond better to it. All right. So 126, this allows for the manipulation of activities of individual sakafat cells and cell types by using beam of light. 126, this is being used to imprison your cells, your DNA, your gene, and making you think you are thinking what you think, but you're not, right? It's programming. So now beams of light can actually impress upon you certain thoughts that are not really your own, certain programs, because naturally you wouldn't respond that way. 128. This has been used on you by wicked, Kamayu, aliens, extraterrestrials, and now passed on to their offspring, the demigods. 129. To tap into your brain and control or manipulate how you think you are thinking. All right. So this is very, very sad. Think about it. It's diabolical because they're using your own mind against you. All right. So now you could enslave yourself. And when you read the Willie Lynch paper, that's what the whole goal was. And it does kind of feel like an extraterrestrial wrote that and gave it to those people. And how to create a slave. But the goal of the Willie Lynch paper was to create a group of people that will enslave themselves for you for years to come. All right. So they think the way that you want them to think. All right. So 130, or putting you out of your own mind. 131, you are cut off from your own mental, linked to theirs, to live in the image of the Dabat beast. 132, lust and luster, food, fun, and music, all by neuroscience of you. All right. So the study of something you could call science. So the study of nerves about you. So they've taken time to study you. They give you the food, music, luster, the fun, all right, that you could be under their image. 133. Did you ever notice that the radio station that would be considered us are higher number on the radio dial? 134, 90 this or that, 104 this or that. They know us better than we know ourselves, which is why I always say, Arus, study the body. All right. So when you get time, buy some anatomy books. Just sit down and just study the anatomy books. All right. And you'll come to respect the way you're put together and the way life is put together. All right. And that's why Bible says study the anatomy books. That's one of the most spiritual things you can do, because that's part of taking the control back. All right. So they use our tones against us. They use our tones against us. Another diabolical thing. They use our own tones against us. All right. The same way that they affected the note of A. Because a lot of things are on A, even though A is where the healing is, 440 hertz. And it's very egotistical, so we can self-destruct. And they took us out of the natural rhythm. According to the book Man from Planet Risk, Baba said that they took us out of octave. What was it? It was octave 8, something like that. But pretty much they took us out of natural nature, which was in alignment with C, which was the cosmos. Then they pulled us out and put us at 440 hertz, which is out of tune A. So it's still A, but it's slightly a little bit faster. So it's like they took your own tone, corrupted it, and now all your programming is going to be put on that. So now Baba comes back with the tone of A, but at 432 hertz, tone of A. And then you put some reaffirming. So if you look, it's about affirming yourself that, yes, I'm worth something. When you really read these chants, that's what it's about. It's about reminding yourself so you can put yourself back on, so you're healing yourself. You're programming yourself again on A to create unity within yourself. All right. And now you can go back to F and C, because you're at peace with yourself. You love yourself again. You love yourself in kind on A. And then you can now be in harmony with Earth. But if you don't like yourself, there's no way you're going to be in harmony with anything else. No cosmos, no Earth. Because it's going to be a reflection of how you treat the planet and how well you can tap in. And a lot of us are dealing with blockages. So that means that there's healing that's needed. But they used our own tones against us. All right. So 135, they used our own tones against us. So Baba says, stop listening to their stuff. He calls the rap music heavy metal. But in actuality, when you hear rhythm and poetry, and you can put that with some natural tones, the brain actually really likes that, because the brain likes repetition, because it puts you in a more meditative state. So that's why rhyming words, is very, you can program, and you can put that with natural music, and then that could be really powerful. But the way that we do it now is like it's by artificial music, artificial things, artificial everything. All right. So now you're programming yourself in a hypnotic state. And if you really just sit back and listen to music again, you'll hear, especially rap music, it just sounds like chanting. All right. Now that I chant almost every day, now that I chant, um, that's what I hear, especially when I was listening to Megan Thee Stallion, um, and Beyonce's song, and it was like, I'm a savage, nasty, something, something. I'm a savage. I'm a savage. And they just kept saying that over and over. And they were saying it on a rhythm, on a beat, on that 440 hertz. I'm like, okay, that's a program. So now we can put something more positive, slow it down a little bit. And you could say, I'm in the love, the divine love, all expanding. And the all expanding love is in me. I care. And you just chanting I care over and over. Their chant is to tell you I don't care. All right. So 136. For example, in cinemas, they have animals as characters who talk like them. Now, when you would reject their tones and tire of their tones, they replace their sawatat tones with Latino or black actors. And the children do not know the difference. And they copy what they hear in the wrong tones. 137. The purpose being change your tones, change your frequency of body, and you are no longer the real you. You are under the control mentally and thus physically. And that's the true story behind them. $140. Wake up. Break this link to them. Tananu, Kayayu, living dragons, Lawitanunu, Leviathan, spell of Kingu, Canaan, Cain, Kaan, Cain. 141. Afafre Ka, Nagaru, African Negroid. You need the sun's pure rays of illumination to enter through the small holes in your ayantui eyes attached by the dark Khazar pupil encircled by the bright Khazar iris pigmented membrane. All right. So we need that. All right. So it's up to you to take time. All right. You work your 9 to 5. On your lunch break, you go out and you get that sun because guess what? You need it. All right. And I was talking to some Ghanaians and they were telling me about the vitamin D and such and the way that their doctors are because their doctors are going to be different from our doctors, for example. And like the elders, when they get very old and they cannot go outside anymore like that, they are prone to a vitamin D deficiency. So their caretakers, which will probably be their children, are told to take them out around noon for about an hour to make sure they go and sit out in the sun and then take them back home. Because as Africans, they understand that they need the sun. All right. And that's what the doctors told them. Now, for us, we're young, able bodied people, and we don't go out and get the sun. And that's because of different things that has entered our genetics. And we live in caves. All right. So Bob is telling us right here that we need that sun to hit our eyes, to activate certain synapses. All right. You need certain things, certain activations that's necessary. All right. So 141. Afafre ka. Afafre ka. Nagaru. African Negroid. You need the sun's pure rays of illumination to enter through the small holes in your ayantui eyes attached by the dark Khazar pupil encircling by the bright Khazar iris pigmented membrane. 142. Iris is from Greek and means rainbow. Pupil is from Latin and it means ward or student. All right. So now you know pupil. It goes back to the word student, and the pupil is that little dark spot. That's in the eyeball up close, and that's the pupil, and here's the iris. And iris means rainbow, as you see sometimes different colors for different people. But that's your pupil. So your student. Interesting. All right. A ward or a student. 143. The rainbow for the lawanat colors of the prism, the speed of light, and each ta'tuf emotion and expression as a wavelength that enters in the hole in the ayan eye orb. All right. So Baba's equating the brown eye to a solar panel. All right. Because brown will have more of the colors of the whole spectrum of the rainbow in it to absorb and go through the various emotions. Because colors, Baba also links to emotions. So that's why Baba has said you had to be able to name different colors, or else those colors would take over. All right. The colors can be your different moods or however. All right. So colors. And why? 144. Because Nuwaupians, since you first opened your Ayantwi eyes, long before man made illumination or lights, you were born in Rawenos, darkness, then taken into sunlights in the 9th day. 145. And the very first light to Dakul enter your physical body outdoors was the natural sun's rays. 146. You lived and worked as well as played outdoors during the daylight hours. All right. So on our natural way before illumination of lights, we were born first off in our mother's dark womb. We came out to the light. All right. And as Baba explains, our birthing ceremony is that we really are not supposed to bring the child out of darkness until around the 9th day, because and then the first amount of light should be from the natural rays. All right. Why? Because that's overwhelming to the nervous system. So I've been in darkness for this long, and I'm in a hospital white room. It's so bright. And after never being exposed to light, that's my first exposure. And it's so bright. I could just imagine how's that not damaging to the nervous system. That's very shocking, you know. So in reality, nature, you'll be born. It's more conducive to be indoors. You give birth, the baby is brought out after a certain amount of time. The baby's brought out, and then the first light that it's getting is natural light. That's going to be a much more natural being in actuality. Something few of us have experienced over here, right? 147. From 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. was the hottest of the day, called Yawam, hot of the day. And the full day from dawn to dusk, called Zamut day. The bright of day, called Nahar. All right, I think I skipped something. So the baby was brought out on the 9th day, 145. And the very first light to Dakol enter your physical body was outdoors, natural sun rays. You lived and worked as well as played outdoors during the daylight hours. 147. And from 6 to 3 p.m. was the hottest of the day, called the Yawam, the hot of the daylights. And the full day from dusk to dawn was called Zamut day, the bright of the day, called Nahar. For 148, your Ayantwi eyes absorbed the sun's rays of light and energy, an average of 9 hours. All right. So naturally, we were exposed to that sun for at least 9 hours. Outdoors each day, an average of 90 hours each week was common back then, even before the event of electric or gas lights. All right, so our immune system has broken down thanks to electricity. And I can say also, for knowing people who live more simply, and I travel, especially in Africa, they do a lot more things outside their community. They put the seats outside, they talk, they have their community, and they're outside all day. All right. And just think about how on average we were out before we were doing the electric or gas lights. We were out each day on an average of 90 hours. All right. How much hours of sun, if anybody wants to unmute, how much hours of sun do you think you get a week? All right. Anybody like to share? Do no photo or your own. This is not to condemn anybody because I don't get 90 hours, definitely. Because I don't work outdoors. But how many hours? Rabat, Zamal.
But no, sir. Well, where we are now, it gets dark about 4 o'clock, right? So very minimal. Even if the sun is out there, the temperature is about 1 degree. So me personally, I'm in and out because it's just too damn cold. But
right.
It's in the winter here, man, and it gets started really early, really early.
Yeah,
so
I can relate.
Really not that good.
Yeah. So it just lets us know, as sun beings, we're in the wrong part of the planet.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, you got that right.
Right. 149. So the Ayantwi eyes are like solar panels that draws light in the body to give it energy. All right. A lot of black people I know right now express to me bad skin, they having digestive issues, they depressed. All right. And so now the eyes were meant to be solar panels to draw energy in. So if we're not having that sun life, our energy is going to be a little dimmer than what it would be. So there could be a connection with that, which is why they say depression is higher in the winter. 150, Nawar light, which is radiant energy acting on the retina of the ayan eye to make you shafuf, see. All right, radiant energy, it acts on the retina. All right, so the retina responds, all right, as an image, and you see. So the retina, Latin ret, means a net. All right, so retina goes back to the word net. The innermost coat lining of the eye orb containing light-sensitive cells that are directly connected to the damagh brain. All right, so these cells, now we know, is going back all the way to the brain. 152. Now, most people have moved indoors and are cut off from sun's natural rays of illumination or radiant energy. 152. The darker the eye's iris, the more sun rays are drawn into the body, the more energy is received. All right, so you have everybody's eyes here, from blue, hazel, all kinds of eye colors, and then you have dark brown. So we know that the darker the iris, the more energy it can absorb. All right. And then you have the eyeball itself. You see the retina. You see the nerves. So you see how it branches out from the back. And it's going back to this source here. And this interacts now back there with the brain. This also removes your ability. There we go. Shamash. Oh, 154. The lighter the eye iris is, the lesser amount of sun rays is drawn into the body and the lesser amount of energy received. 155. As light colors, Hasmuni, and white repels the sun, while dark colors and black attracts the sun rays. Now that's a fact. All right. So you can just do a little experiment if you like. You could take two pieces of gold when it's really hot, put a piece of something black, right? A black object out, making sure it's the same type of, so it's a black material, put that out, and put a piece of white material and put it out. You'll notice that the black material is actually hotter because it absorbed more, all right, energy. All right.
In excuse me, in videography, we will use a white foam to bounce the light, and the cloth, black cloth, they call that a negative fill because it will block and absorb the light.
Right, right. So you see that the white is actually bouncing that light back off, so it seems brighter. And then the black actually absorbs it in. It's taking it inside itself. So the same thing with the eyes, that the dark eyes is absorbing more of the energy inwardly. All right. So yes, 157. So people have moved indoors away from the natural rays of sunlight energy and seek to keep you from that Siam, Nashat's divine energy, or places that are sun drenched like Africa. All right. So they get African Americans afraid of Africa, like, oh, you go to Africa, they're not going to treat you. They're going to treat you like you're not African. They're going to treat you different. They told you all kinds of, oh, it's the bushes. Oh, you want to get bit by mosquitoes. And the reality is to scare you away from healing yourself and putting yourself back in tune. You know, why don't you go to Italy? Why don't you go to France? You know, why don't you go to all these other places? All right. We're going to scare you away from Africa while we go to Africa. But the reality is there's so much greatness for us, for ourselves. All right. So 158. As long as you live with cavemen on parts of the Kawak planets with less sun rays, you will always be weakened mentally and physically, as you are children of the Shamash sun. All right. So we're going to be naturally weakened because I'm going to tell you, you know, being whenever I go to places like Africa, I go to places like the Caribbean, I always, number one, I always feel 10 times more feminine. I always feel 10 times more beautiful. I always just feel better and more like me. And the reality is like, okay, I'm charging myself up of who and what I really am, because I'm getting what my body needs. So 159. This also removes your ability to regulate your circadian rhythm and energize your brain cells and body. So being in these sun weak places, we become weak because we need the sun to function. And now we can't regulate our circadian rhythm. All right. And the circadian rhythm is your natural hormonal balance in balancement with the movements of the earth. So now you're having a hard time. You can't wake up. You're tired throughout the day. You don't sleep properly. You're not digesting your food properly. You're bloated. All right. All that is due to your circadian rhythm. All right. And we can go through the circadian rhythm. All right. Midnight. Let's just start off at, we'll start at 2 o'clock in the morning. Midnight. So between, you have your biological clock, midnight, around naturally 9 p.m. You start to secrete melatonin around 9 o'clock. But when you look around 9 o'clock, the sun has been setting. Now you're in darkness after a certain amount of time. After a certain amount of time in darkness, your body naturally starts to respond by creating melatonin. All right, around 9 o'clock. All right. Now your bowels, it starts suppressing itself, so you don't use the bathroom on yourself while you're sleeping, because now certain things are starting to shut down, because now your melatonin is producing, and now it's sending signals to the rest of your body, shut down. So now you won't have a bowel movement while you're sleeping yet. Now you're in a deep sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. All right. Your temperature, it drops too. All right. And then you start to have a rise in your blood pressure around 6 o'clock in the morning. All right. So now you're starting to wake up naturally if you didn't have an alarm clock because the blood pressure is starting to go. Now your melatonin secretion stops around 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30. So 7:30, your melatonin, now you should be up, good to go. The sun is about rising at that time. All right. So around sunrise, that's when your melatonin stops. And now your bowel movement is activated. So if you're healthy, you should really be having your first bowel movement in the morning. All right. Um, and now you start to have a good testosterone rise. All right. So that's why a lot of men they get erections and stuff around when they wake up. Then they have high alertness around 10 o'clock. All right. So you woke up naturally around 6, but at 10 o'clock now you're ready to go. This is all naturally your circadian rhythm. Now you're gonna have your best coordination around 2:30. Your fastest reaction time around 3:30. Around 5 o'clock, you have greatest cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength. So you're doing work. All right, highest blood pressure around 6:30, highest blood temperature around 7. But now the sun is starting to set around that time. All right, or the appearance of it. So you're completely in tune with what the planet's doing. But now you're having, let's say you're having a suppressed bowel, like you're constipated because the suppression is happening up over here. So you can't use the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You want to, you know. So it just shows everything is connected. So our circadian rhythm gets corrupted. So this also removes your ability to regulate your circadian rhythm and energize your brain and body. African Black people, you were grown to attract light and sound. Your very nappy hair are antennas to receive the voices from your ancestors, to receive electromagnetic waves. So now you know your hair why it's like that. All right, it's not just a vanity piece. Like, I look cute. You know what? That girl over there, she's cute. That I'm gonna try on her red hair because you know what? I'm gonna straighten my hair like the Hindus, and it's like you don't understand why your ancestors designed you. All right, to be the way you are. So if you look at a cat and you see the whiskers are the end of their sensory. They can sense things. Um, so now we know that the hair you can also sense. 161. This has to be retuned. You are on another station. You're not hearing your own Salafu ancestors and Nasabu relatives speaking to you from the Kale Makwanats, multiverses or spirit realms. 162. You burn or transform your hair texture. You bleach it. You cut it and damage your natural antennas, your kingly or barred hair. 163. You put in light contacts to deflect the sun rays of light. All right. So you're already a dark person living in a cave-like environment. Then you go and you take the white person's contacts for light eyes, and now you're repelling the light, the little bit of light that you do get. All right. 164. If you paint your kasha skin, your rich dark melanin, which draws the sun rays to your open pores, you are decreasing the energy drawn to your kata's body. All right. So you have some, like, her face and her hands don't match, but that's her before. Although she does take a little bleach, and it's obvious because I do makeup that I did makeup. I don't really like to do it anymore. But she put on a lot of light makeup, so it's causing interference, you know. 165, you are taken inside a madras school as a child, spending time from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. indoors. All right. So as a child, they don't teach you outdoors. And if you look in other countries, Sometimes they have the classes outdoors. All right. I did notice that. They have the stools and the chalkboard, and it's outside, and they sit outside. Might be by some, they might be around some trees, get a little shade sometimes. All right. And then for us, we go out, spend 20 minutes outside talking about we hot. Gotta go inside. And it's understandable because the circadian rhythm and all that to regulate is off, because we should be able to regulate and meet that energy that's outputting. So now we're no longer hot. All right. But we have to build back up to that. So you are inside a madras school as a child, spending time from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. indoors, or you work indoor all day. 167. This is planned by the wicked to weaken you. 168. So that they can overpower you night and day. All right. So you're compromised. 169. They say you must pay taxes so you can have a job inside, or work under them to keep you away from the energy of Pa Shamash, the sun. 171. Now, do you see why they say we worship the sun? All right, so they used to make fun of us and say we worship the sun. But in actuality, we were different kind of beings. And we did build our life around the sun. All right, as sun beings. 172. They did not understand our relationship to its rays and how we so faithfully regulated our circadian rhythm and received our energies for our brain and cells. 173. How will you know what circadian is? Latin circa, the behavior or physiological rhythm associated with the 24-hour cycle of this Earth's planet's rotation, linked to your 24,000 year cycles and the Earth's circadian of 24,986 miles. It's all linked to the equinox to keep Sajalat's records of when to renew your story every 24,000 years. 176. To your bodies, organs, glands, and cells. 177. It's a fact that your circadian rhythm are dependent upon the Earth's sun rays, entering your ayantui eyes to regulate your body's master clock or zero time reference. All right. So it's very clear that your circadian rhythm is dependent upon the sun rays. All right. To regulate your circadian rhythm, to regulate your hormones. Because melatonin and serotonin are hormones, testosterone's hormones. All right. All that's hormones. And remember, Baba said that the secrets will be secreted. All right. Secretions, your own bodily secretions. We're talking about hormone secretions. All right. So these secretions are messages, but you're not secreting properly. All right. So something is defective. You're not responding. All right. So these days, oh, there we go. Regulate. Lens. Circadian. All right. So 175. It's all linked to the equinox to keep Sajalat's records of when to renew your story every 24,000 years. It's even powerful that it's linked to this very equinox of 24,000 year change. Why? Because the energies that are being given off now from the sun is more direct than it was in the last cycle. So we're going from one cycle to another. So now we're supposed to be receiving different messages. But we're being cut off from the sun. So it's going to be a lot harder for us to be pulled into that sun cycle. All right. So it's linked to those records because now we're going to know what to do. All right. 176, to keep your organs and glands and cells. All right. to your body's organs, Hasmuni, to your body's organs, glands, and cells. It's in fact that your circadian rhythms are dependent upon the sun rays to enter your ayantui eyes to regulate your body's master clock, zero time reference. According to the qualities and quantity of true light and natural colors received, key hormones and neurotransmitters like serotonin and melatonin are released in the brain to set your daily rhythm. All right. So now we know we're out of tune because if you're not in that daily rhythm, you're out of tune with the natural rhythm of nature. So now nature is not speaking to us. I mean, it's speaking, but we're on the wrong station because we're out of tune. So we have to get back in tune with our daily rhythms. All right. 179. These days, most of our Kamem Salah, black race of Africa people, suffer from illumination or lack of sun's rays daily. All right. So, including myself, everybody with melanin in this panel, even if you live down somewhere sunny, because of the life you're not spending 9 hours. A lot of people didn't unmute to tell me they spend 9 hours in the sun. So that already tells us that most of us are going to be, if not all of us, are going to be mal-illuminated. All right. Mal-illuminated. All right. For lack of the daily sun rays. All right. So taking a trip to Jamaica and laying out in the beach for 1 week and then going back and living, you know, back in your caves is not enough. Like, 2 weeks ago I was in Jamaica, so I'm good. 180. That is natural sunlight and too much indoor artificial lights, especially at shadow hours of night. All right. So now we not only are we not having good sunlight, but now when the light's supposed to be going off, we turn on the indoor lights. All right. So now we have too much indoor lights, especially during night shadow hour. The reason you experience so many symptoms of being out of rhythm. All right. Here are some of the symptoms of being out of rhythm. 182. Headaches, depression, fatigue, weight gain, pains, hormonal imbalances, sleep disorders, PMS, lowered immune response, vitamin deficiencies, and a lack of vitality, just to name a few. 183. So many health problems are associated with the lack of the full spectrum of the natural light, which includes ultraviolet lights, which Caucasians tell you, oh, put some sunscreen on because you don't want no UV damage. Your immune system is meant to keep up. So as an esthetician, person who deals with skin, your skin is meant, like when you get a tan, all right, or you get an activation, because a lot of us are darker than tan. So we get an activation when we go out into the sun, and then our skin is getting darker. Your dark skin is an immune system response because you're getting active radiation. And then your immune system steps in, all right, through your guard dog cells to say, hey, let's get more active. And when you burn, that's your immune system no longer able to keep up, all right? But many of us, most of us, I mean, now we're somewhere in the middle, so I do know a few of us burning. But most of us should never burn because you're supposed to be able to keep up with the environment if you're a natural being, all right? And you're in natural conditions, all right? So you need the ultraviolet light because the ultraviolet light is part of your regulation, helps to regulate you. Now, if you're very pale, all right, then you need something else, and that's a different being and different needs, all right? But if you're a sun being, you're not going to be healthy and well regulated without the sun. 184. Ultraviolet light is necessary for your health. All right. So, for example, I have a really cute relative, little boy, so dark, and then I saw somebody had given him sunscreen. He was like 2. I'm like, first off, he's indoors a lot. I'm like, he's way darker than everybody else, and I was like, why you put that sunscreen on that black boy? And they looked at me like I said something ignorant. I'm like, he's black. He don't need the sunscreen. And in actuality, I'm happy they don't really put it on him. And I'm like, when did anybody in our family ever burn? But it's because they go to these salespeople and these Caucasians and they say everybody needs sunscreen. And black people get cancer too. But the reality is the type of skin cancer that black people tend to get is not the kind caused by sun. Like the kind that Bob Marley had, it started on his foot and his toe and the skin. And also Bob Marley was half white. But the kind that he had started on his toe and it spread, and it was the kind that wasn't caught. I forgot the name of it, but it wasn't the time type that's caused by the sun. So they do little things, funny things um to make us put ourselves, like they normalize their sicknesses.
Robert.
Robert Bazimal, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the true story about Bob Marley, how he really, really died. Cancer might have been involved, but he was given a Puma training shoes by an undercover FBI agent, and they met up with him backstage. I can't remember where it was, and they presented it to him, and he was glad, red, gold, and green, that type of thing. And when he put it on, tried it on, he made like a noise like, oh, something sharp in here. So the minute he put that trainers on, that pin that was inside there had poison in it. And that was it. That was the start of the death of Bob Marley. That's how it happened with him. Yeah, he might have had cancer, but that is the story. And if you look on YouTube, you will see the confession of the guy that actually bought the shoes to him to kill him. He actually confessed on his deathbed, if you want to call it that.
I would love
But
to
yeah,
look at that. So I would have.
yeah. If when you get time, look at that. I yield.
I will. And also, interestingly, what you said, I just knew that the cancer started by his foot, inside his foot. So that makes sense of how he could have actually been injected in his foot with something. But it's funny how, like, I've been in different groups and they'll use like, well, Bob Marley died of skin cancer. But it was a kind that is not caused by his son, and it might have actually been given to him. So I appreciate that, Jamal. I'm gonna look that up. So 183. So many health problems are associated with the lack of the full spectrum of light, natural light, which includes ultraviolet light. 184. Ultraviolet light is necessary for your health. 185. Your retinal pigment epithelial cells, which will not divide unless they are exposed to low levels of ultraviolet light. All right, so now we have eye issues because our retinal pigment epithelial cells will not divide without adequate levels of ultraviolet light. So interesting, right? 186. This all does not mean go out and stare at the sun directly. That is why you have eyelids. So you must be in tune with your body and produce healthy brain cells. All right. So Baba had put that little disclaimer in because a lot of us take things to extreme. Like, you know what? I need to get some sun in my eyes. Let me go stare at the sun and burn out my eyes. He's saying, no, don't do that. You're supposed to just be existing in the sunlight because your eyes are dark and it's meant to attract the sun. You don't have to look up at the sun to attract the sun rays. It's being attracted because that's what dark pigments is meant to do. It's meant to draw in energy. All right. 187. So you must be in tune with your body to produce healthy brain cells. All right. So you have to tune up your body, heal yourself inside out, outside in. 188. You must rebuild you. Fawej, Jawef Fawej, inside out, and Fawej Jawef, outside in. 189. You have inner powers as Afafre Kaahu, Africans, nature's chosen race, given the gifts to Banoi, build and rebuild. Build and rebuild. 191. After 6,000 years of suffering, it is now our Wakut, time. All right. So now we know the sun is acting different than ever before. It's meant to go in high drive to heal the sun children. It's our time. All right. No faith will ever change one's fate. No faith can change one's fate. Truth is truth, facts are facts. That concludes our scroll. All right. So that was a great scroll. Perfect for this time of year because we're going to have a fast in 2 days. And now we have a whole nother dimension of what we're fasting for and what it's doing. We fast for 9 days. All right. And we have, it takes verse 7, 6 to 9 weeks to replenish your blood. All right. 6 to 9 months to nourish life. All right. You can have a premature baby at 6, but if you want to have a more developed baby, you go all the way to 9 months in the womb. So the 9 days is the symbolic of our rebirth. All right. So you're giving birth to a new version, a new, more healthy version of yourself. And we do that twice a year. Some of us do it 4 times a year for each season. So I like to ask, what does everybody feel that from this book, like we read the scroll? What do you take away? All right.
Rahbat, again.
Rahbat.
I must
Rahbat.
admit, I read the scroll about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and hearing it again, I'm thinking, oh, I don't remember reading that part. It's kind of like that, especially with the circadian rhythm part. Yeah, really. Yeah, you broke it down well. Nice one. Tower tact.
Toe attack. Yes, the circadian rhythm part really stood out to me because I feel like a lot of us are suffering in various ways from our bloated bellies that many of us have. Some of us, there's a lot of ways to improve the bloatedness that I'm seeing, not being able to sleep all the way through the night, waking up and then being constipated in the day. And it's like it's an ongoing thing I'm seeing in various ways that some of us being moody, all right, because the moods are also affected by the hormones. Your hormones definitely affect your moods. Not being able to regulate your moods, all right, being snappy, things like that. And what can we do different, or what has been off? So it's like something that I'm seeing, amongst ourselves. And this is a great opportunity because as we're doing our 9-day fast, we can be mindful of the time we wake up. So if you're going to sleep and you're watching your little YouTube or whatever with the bright lights, now you understand what it's doing to your circadian rhythm. So you turn that off, you fast from that, unnecessary things. You get a nice sleep. You wake up, you drink we doing a liquid fast. So you drink whatever you need to drink throughout the day. And then you notice yourself kind of like catching that rhythm, Yes, Zamal?
Rahbat, yeah, I'll let you finish first. I can't remember where I heard it or read it or saw it, but didn't Baba say, if you fast for 30 days, everything will be back in order, your illnesses will be gone? Do you recall that? Remember that? Heard it before? Anything? I just
I don't
wondered if
remember
anybody else.
that. I don't remember that. I don't remember Bob ever saying that actually. But ironically, a couple years ago, I fasted for
Heard
about
it.
30.
Sorry to interrupt you again, sister. I apologize. I've
Mhm.
heard it somewhere, or read it, or seen it, and gonna be my mission to find it now.
Are you sure it wasn't Dr. Sabi?
Yeah, sure. I think it was Baba. I think good point. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on Baba.
Mm.
Okay, what?
I felt I did a fast like that because I try to do it seasonally, and I 2 years ago, maybe it's been 3 years, and I did a 30-day. I did it for the whole month of September, because September I was like, okay, ninth month, and I feel like I'm still benefiting from the benefits uh, of uh, of that fast, because things had if it's like things changed for me permanently after that. So I could see that, you know, and that was a few years ago, and I could still feel the benefits years later. But I didn't know if Bob said it though. Anybody else that like to say anything about the scroll or about our travel fast that we're going to be going into in 2 days? And also feel free to share what you might be eating for these next couple days to prepare yourself. All right. So yes, Zamaltat.
Right back. I just wanted to say, Tawatet for reading the scroll. I'm still doing a lot of learning, and I just wanted to say thank you for, putting all the information in the chat and reading the scroll. I never heard it or took the time to read it, so it's really doing a lot for me. I know I'm not the healthiest person, but I do feel like this fast will help me in a lot of other ways. So I just wanted to give you, just wanted to say thank you for your time.
And Tower Tap for your time as well, Zamaltat. And because we're all healing something some way or another together, you know. And it's definitely a privilege and an honor to share the scrolls that has helped me. And just to put it out there, because it's in my best interest that more of us to be healthy, that we have a culture to plug into with other healthy individuals who know what our doctrine is. So I appreciate you, you know, taking the time to be here. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to all of us fasting together. So I'm gonna wrap up this reading for today. Oh, Rahubat, Zamal.
Rahubat.
I just have
Rahubat,
a
Zamal, Emmanuel.
I have a random question.
Yeah.
What does Sabia mean?
I think that your phone is going out. I think your phone's going out.
Let me take it off the Bluetooth for you, man.
Mhm.
Rahubat, Muisar.
Rahubat.
Okay, I'm gonna try to take it off the Bluetooth form, and
Okay.
that may help. Huawei. Let's see. Try it.
All
Okay.
right.
Rahubat.
Rahubat, Zamal. It's great to see you here and
Uh-oh.
hear from you.
Oh no, it blanked all the way out. Let me go out and come back in.
Okay. Natural ethers energy.
Rahubat.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so there we go.
Okay. I have a random question. What does Sabian mean?
That's a good question. All right. So Sabaean is broken down in many ways. You could take it back to the roots. So Sabat, well, that's saying it in English. So you have Sabat, all right. So whenever you put Ian after a word, that means one who is, all right. And then you have Sabat, and Sabat can be broken down in many ways. So Sabat is our Sirius star constellation, and Sabat is also another way of saying star in our language. So if you say Sabat, you can say the children from the stars, or the star seeds, or even the children who go back to Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's a lot more to that word that we're still learning. Because we also have a group of people who left Africa and they were making their way back into Africa as Sabians. All right. And you still see some of them in the Middle East area as they make it back.
Oh, what a coincidence! I asked my father the exact same question. He's had the exact same answer.
Yeah, that's a good question. But yes, so it's like, and it's like us as the lost tribes who have been separated, we're making our way back home. All right. So that's our journey as Sabians.
Uh, okay, cool. So the reason I asked this question is because when you started when in the scroll it said stuff about sun beings. So I just wanted to know if those are the same thing or if the sun being and Sabang was different, had a different name or are completely different.
Sabaean, different word from which other word that you had?
I said, is Sabaean different from a sun being?
A sun being. Oh, sun being. Well, Sabat, that's a good question too, because a sun is technically a star. It's just that our sun is a little bit, it's closer and it's not even the brightest star, but we can see that star. And we call it a sun. But most stars that you see are suns. So being a star being can be a sun being too. Yeah. So when you go to school and then you look up what a sun is, they'll tell you suns are stars.
Oh well, thanks for the information. I'll meditate on that.
I appreciate that, and please, your questions are very good, but also take time to look up to make sure what I told you is true. So you can go and research what a sun is, what a star is, what's the root word of Sabat, what does that mean, you know. So that's very good. I really appreciate you.
Huawei. Well,
All right.
I'll keep listening, but I'm gonna go on mute for a minute.
All right then. Okay. All right. Anybody else has anything about the scroll question or comment or anything like that they like to share before we wrap up? All right. So I'm gonna end the recording, but I'm gonna keep us on. I'm gonna end this recording now. Hold on. Let's see. How do I stop the recording?